In the history of music, there are stars, there are icons, and then there are warlords. Most artists, when they go to prison, their careers die. The lights go out, the fans move on, and the world forgets. But Adidja Palmer is not most artists. He is the man who divided a nation. He is the lyricist who started a cult so powerful that the government had to intervene. He is the world boss. For 13 years, he sat in a maximum security cell, facing a life sentence for a gruesome murder where the body was never found. Yet, while locked away from the world, his voice was everywhere. He dominated the airwaves, he set the trends, and he remained the undisputed king of dancehall without ever stepping on a stage. This is not just a story about music. This is a story about power, violence, corruption, and a legacy that refused to die. From the slums of Waterford to the Privy Council in London, this is the untold truth of Vybz Kartel. Welcome to Fame Files. To understand the world boss, you have to understand the boy named Adidja Azim Palmer. Born on January 7, 1976, in Kingston, he was raised in the Waterford district of Portmore, St. Catherine. Now, usually, when we talk about dancehall legends, we talk about street toughness. And while Palmer had that, his greatest weapon was actually his mind. He wasn't just a street kid. He was a student at Calabar High School, one of the most prestigious schools in Jamaica. He was known for being quiet, observant, and incredibly sharp. His journey didn't start as Vybz Kartel. In fact, his first attempt at stardom came when he was just 12 years old. In 1988, he released his first single, Love Fat Woman, under the name Audie Banton. Why Banton? Because he idolized the man you know as Buju Banton. He was trying to find his voice, mimicking the greats, searching for a path out of Waterford. In the late 90s, the dancehall world was ruled by the warlord, Bounty Killer. Bounty had an eye for talent, and he saw something in Palmer that others missed, a lyrical density that was unmatched. Palmer wasn't just rhyming. He was constructing puzzles. He joined Bounty's Alliance crew, writing hits for the warlord himself. For years, he was the ghost in the machine, the pen behind the hits. But you can't keep a king in the shadows forever. In 2003, he shattered the glass ceiling. He rebranded. Audie Banton was dead. Vybz Kartel was born. And almost overnight, he wasn't just a member of the Alliance anymore. He was a threat to the throne. By 2006, the tension was undeniable. Kartel left the Alliance after a tense fallout at the Steam Festival. He didn't just leave. He declared war. He retreated to his home turf in Portmore and founded the Portmore Empire. But the streets gave it a different name, Gaza. This wasn't just a record label. It was a movement. He recruited young, hungry talent, Popcaan, Tommy Lee Sparta, Sean Storm, Black Rhino. He was building an army. And every army needs an enemy. Enter Mavado, the gully god, representing the Cassava Peace community. What happened next wasn't just a music rivalry like Biggie and Tupac. This was a cultural civil war that tore Jamaica apart. It became known as Gully versus Gaza. The influence was terrifying. In schools across Jamaica, children were fighting in the hallways based on which side they chose. If you wore a certain color, you were a target. It got so violent that the Jamaican police had to intervene. The violence spilled out of the dance halls and into the streets. There were stabbings, shootings, and riots. It reached a boiling point at Sting 2008, the greatest one-night reggae show on earth. The clash between Kartel and Mavado was legendary, but the aftermath was dangerous. The situation became a national security issue. In a moment that showed just how powerful these two men had become, the Prime Minister of Jamaica actually called them to a meeting to broker a peace treaty. Think about that. A musician so powerful the government has to ask him to stop the violence. But while the streets were warring, Kartel was evolving. He started bleaching his skin, sparking a massive controversy about race and self-hate. He launched his own rum, his own condoms, his own shoes. He wasn't just a DJ, he was becoming a deity to his followers. He sang about Clark's shoes, and sales in England skyrocketed. He was untouchable. Or so he thought. The higher you fly, the harder you fall. The police had been watching the Gaza Empire for years. They saw it not just as a music group, but as an organized criminal enterprise. On September 29, 2011, the hammer dropped. Police raided a hotel in Kingston and arrested Kartel. At first, it was for marijuana. Then, it was much worse. He was charged with the murder of Clive "Lizard" Williams. The details that came out in court were like something from a horror movie. Prosecutors alleged that Lizard Williams and another man were summoned to Kartel's house in Havendale to answer for 2 missing guns, illegal firearms that belonged to the cartel. The trial, which began in November 2013, was the longest in Jamaica's history, lasting 65 days. The evidence was damning. Text messages, voice notes, and video footage. One text message sent from Kartel's phone allegedly read that Lizard's body had been minced like fine minced meat, so that it could never be found. And indeed, it never was. To this day, the body of Clive Williams has never been recovered. The defense argued that the police had fabricated evidence, that phone data had been tampered with. But the jury didn't buy it. On March 13, 2014, in a 10-1 verdict, Vybz Kartel was found guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 35 years. The king was caged. The empire was supposed to crumble. In most stories, this is where the credits roll. The bad guy goes to jail, the hero goes home. But Vybz Kartel broke the rules of reality. Within months of his incarceration, new music started appearing. Not just old, unreleased tracks, but songs that sounded fresh, referencing current events, using new slang. The world was baffled. How was he doing it? The authorities denied it. They claimed he had a massive backlog of unreleased vocals. But the fans knew better. Rumors swirled that he was recording on smartphones, smuggling files out via WhatsApp, or even that he had a professional setup inside his cell courtesy of corrupt guards. In 2016 alone, while sitting in a cell, he released over 50 new songs. His album, King of the Dancehall, hit the Billboard charts. The song, Fever, went gold in the United States. He was collaborating with international superstars like Busta Rhymes and Major Lazer. Think about the absurdity of this. A man serving a life sentence for murder was dominating the summer playlists of teenagers in London, New York, and Toronto. He became a ghost, physically absent, but sonically omnipresent. But while his voice was strong, his body was failing. Years of incarceration took a toll. Kartel developed Graves' disease, a serious thyroid condition. Photos emerged of him looking swollen, his face puffy, his eyes protruding. His lawyer, Isaac Buchanan, issued dire warnings. The conditions in the prison were killing him. The heat, the lack of ventilation, it was a death sentence in slow motion. He was fighting 2 battles, one for his health and one for his freedom. For a decade, his legal team fought. They took the case all the way to the highest court available to Jamaica, the Privy Council in the United Kingdom. Their argument hinged on a crucial detail from the original trial. During the 2014 trial, it was discovered that a juror had attempted to bribe the others to return a not guilty verdict. Instead of dismissing the jury, the judge allowed the contaminated jury to decide Kartel's fate. On March 14, 2024, the Privy Council ruled. They quashed the conviction. They said the trial was unfair. But he wasn't free yet. The case was sent back to Jamaica's Court of Appeal to decide, retrial or freedom. The tension in Jamaica was palpable. A retrial would take years, and with his health failing, it might be a death sentence anyway. Finally, on July 31, 2024, the decision came down. The Court of Appeal ruled that due to the passage of time, the lack of witnesses, and Kartel's health, a retrial was impossible. After 12 years and 10 months, Adidja Palmer walked out of the prison gates. He didn't look like the man who went in. He was older. His face showed the scars of his illness. He wore a mask, hiding the ravages of Graves' disease. But the aura was the same. The streets of Kingston shut down. It was a hero's welcome for a convicted murderer. It forces us to ask a difficult question. In the battle between fame and truth, who won? We have the truth. A man died, and a jury found Kartel responsible. But we also have the fame, the music, the legacy, the undeniable impact on culture. Vybz Kartel is free. He is back in the studio. The world boss has returned to his throne. But looking at the man behind the sunglasses, you have to wonder, what was the cost of that crown? Adidja Palmer's story is far from over. As he begins to rebuild his health and his empire, the world is watching. Will he reclaim the top spot? Or has the game changed too much while he was away? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world boss, you need to check out our video on Tommy Lee Sparta, and don't forget to subscribe to Fame Files for more stories where fame meets truth.